Hi everyone, today we're going to take a look at the Viltrox 14mm f4 full frame ultra wide angle rectilinear lens with autofocus at a price point of just $199. And I want to repeat that this lens has autofocus and it's rectilinear, meaning you're not going to get that barrel distortion or fisheye distortion that you see a lot of times with these ultra wide angle lenses. And before we get started, full disclosure, Viltrox did send this lens out to me for review at no cost to myself, but as always, I'll give you my honest and fair opinion. All right, let's take a closer look at the lens itself. And as you can see, it's very compact and it's lightweight at just 175 grams. And that's due to, we have basically an all plastic construction here with the barrel and the focusing ring. But here on the rear here, we do have a metal lens ring mount for better durability. But there's no rubber sealing or weather sealing of any kind that I could see. You also see the electrical contacts here for the autofocusing, and then a USB-C port here for doing easy firmware updates. And the focusing ring is very smooth, well dampened here. I didn't have any problems manually focusing when I wanted to. And you'll notice that looking from the top down to the front, you'll notice that the front element doesn't bulb out in front of the barrel itself. So that allowed them to put in a 58mm ring size in here, or ring threads, so that you can attach standard filters like a polarizer or special effect filters like this star filter in here very easily. And when I used the polarizer on this lens, I didn't notice any weird vignetting or anything from that either. Now the front and rear plastic lens caps are of course included, and I like the front lens cap. It's just your standard pinch and release lens cap, my favorite kind. And also they have a minimal lens hood here, which of course it has to be because of the super wide angle that this lens carries. And it's a standard bayonet style. And what I like about bayonet style lens hoods is you can still attach whatever filters you want, generally speaking, like a polarizer or special effects filter, and attach your lens hood at the same time. And it's very, very secure. It's not going to come off, and you can still make adjustments to your polarizer if you want to. And here it is mounted to my A7R5. It's very well balanced, easy access to the focusing ring, and it matches pretty nicely to this body. Now looking at the optical design, we have a 112-degree field of view, which is ultra wide, and it is rectilinear, so you're not going to get that fisheye distortion that you commonly get with these super wide angle lenses. We have an aperture range starting at f4 going to f16, so it's not super bright like a 1.8 or a 2.8, but typically with these wide angle lenses, you do want to shoot at f5.6 or f8 to get the maximum depth of field. Trying to get a shallow depth of field with a super wide angle is an uphill battle anyway. We also have a minimum focusing distance of just 0.13 meters or 13 centimeters, which is very, very close, especially considering that range starts where the sensor is. So you're actually going to have about 5 centimeters or so of working distance in front of the lens as a minimum focusing distance, so you can get very, very close. Which gives you a magnification of just 0.23x, which is very, very respectable. The autofocusing motors are STM motors or stepping motors. I found it to be, reasonably fast and accurate. I didn't have any problems. It always focuses where I want it to, when I want it to. It may struggle a tiny bit with some of the subject detect and face detect, but that has a lot to do with how wide this lens is and how small the subjects are in the frame. So I'm not going to knock it too much for that. And again, typically this is not the kind of lens you would use for portraits and things like that anyway. We have 7 aperture blades, so we get really actually pretty nice bokeh. And again, it's not, the out of focus areas are not something you look for in a lens like this, but it is pretty reasonable and smooth. And then finally, we have the lens elements themselves. We have 12 elements in 9 groups, which is composed of 4 ED, 2 high refractive or HR lenses, and also, which is very unusual at this price point, 2 spherical lenses, which I think helps contribute to the excellent performance that we get out of this lens, as you'll see here in a moment. So let's start with sharpness, and I found this lens to be very, very sharp, starting wide open at f4. There is a tiny bit of fall off in the corners where it's a little bit soft, but in real world photos like these, you're not even going to notice it because it's such a wide angle lens. And shooting at f5.6 and f8, which is what I was typically shooting at, I had no problems at all with this lens for wide angle shots, whether it's architectural or landscape, whatever. And chromatic aberration is also very well controlled. If we zoom in here, you can see it's barely noticeable, even on this glass and steel type architecture. You're not going to really have any problems at all, and it's easily corrected in post-processing if you do run across it. Now, vignetting and barrel distortion are also very minimal. Like in this shot here, it's naturally occurring because of the way the lighting is, but also the lens is projecting some shade. But like in this shot here, it's barely noticeable. And for distortion, this is the image straight out of camera, and then this image here is with a minor correction. Again, a lot of the images I didn't even bother to do vignetting or barrel distortion corrections. Now, when it comes to flaring, it's actually not that bad because it is very difficult to avoid the flaring artifacts on super wide angle lenses. But what I liked about the performance here was that the lens still maintained very, very good contrast, even when there was flaring in the frame. And to minimize it, you just have to change your angle of view just a little bit to almost completely get rid of it. And then finally, and you may have noticed this in some of the previous shots, is that the sun stars on this lens are amazing. They actually start out at around f4, and then they get very, very prominent even at f5.6 and f8. And you can see in these images here, you can use them to great creative effect. But one of the things I like to do most with ultra wide angle lenses is to do pseudo panoramic shots where if you take this image here where there's a lot of negative space in the top and the bottom of just sky and water that I don't feel adds to the story, I can crop in and create a beautiful 16:7 or wider panoramic like this one to make it much more dramatic. Here's another example. The wide angle shot is just okay, but when you crop it in, I think it can be much more dramatic shot, just containing the elements that are important to the scene. So overall, I think this is a great lens, and if you don't have an ultra-wide angle lens in your bag right now, this is a great alternative, particularly at this price point. And of course, I'll have my affiliate links down below if you'd like to support the channel and the work that I do here. It's greatly appreciated. But that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.